Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Dev. Today we continue to work on our card/colony survival hybrid game called Hand of Life. Now, last time we improved our management of data by keeping track of object data through the data grid. This went surprisingly well, so I spent my extra time that session fleshing out and improving our menu system. It was a solid start to make way for things like today's plan, which is to make our menu functional so we can start spawning buildings. This will allow us to tie the building code we've been working on with our menu code. And to top it all off, we'll also try figuring out a way to manage recipes for the building system. Sounds like a plan, so let's get to the coding. First, we had to fix our menu system. If you remember, last time we got it working right, but because of how our menu is drawn, the mouse positioning was giving us issues. So instead of using the mouse's position in the room, I checked for the mouse's position in the display area. I found out very quickly that this changed a lot of the margins and spacing I coded last time. So a lot of time was spent converting everything over to the new measurements. It was definitely worth it though, because this now gives us more consistent numbers to work with across the entire menu system. Now I know what you're thinking, and yes, by using the display, this will mean different measurements at different resolutions. The good news is this should be easy to account for with some math. The bad news is I'm bad at math, so we'll have to come back to it later. For now it works, so after a lot of rewriting and tweaking, and I do mean a lot, I was finally able to convert our menu into something more stable. And now that our menu was more stable, we could now focus on the actual spawning of our buildings. In a new script, I set up two switch functions to determine which page we're on and which menu item we're hovered over. And then set up a check for resources, in this case wood and stone, in order to build our school building. A simple conditional check for the right amount of resources will do. I then created a spawner object that would act as a buffer before placement, and soon realized I was severely overthinking my code. Going back to the script, I had the script pass a simple variable off to the spawner object, and for now the spawner object would then pass that on to the building object. It was at this moment I realized something was wrong with my resource checks. I had the global variables for resources, and yet also had a global list of resources. Turns out the global variables were remnants of an old code I forgot to delete, and so my building script needed some tweaking. Instead of checking for global variables, we had to check for the IDs in the global resource array. And as you can see, this makes the code really ugly. I mean, it works, don't get me wrong, it's just really bloated, ugly, and confusing at first glance. The best way I knew to make this less convoluted was to incorporate enums. I shortened the array for simplicity's sake and then set up an enum for our resource array, which meant instead of relying on numbers, we can now access resources by name. While this doesn't really make the code any prettier, it's definitely going to make it easier to deal with in the future. And surprisingly, that was all the time I had for this session. A ton of tweaking and rewriting had to be done this session, which ate up a huge chunk of the time, but like always it's progress even though it may not seem like it. I imagine going forward for a while, we're going to be deep in data management, which doesn't make for much fun visually, but I'll do my best to make it entertaining. Fingers crossed. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Let's Dev. So remember that if you like this video or enjoy Let's Dev in general, be sure to hit that like button. If you aren't already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. And as always, be sure to leave your thoughts on our progress in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.